All right, folks, we're back, and we're just waiting for Super, but looks like we are good to go. It's going to be TLO versus Super in the first semifinals match for this week's Corsair Cup. Keep in mind, the Corsair Cup does pay out to all top 4 players, so everyone playing from this point onwards has earned at least a little bit of cash from this weekly cup. Again, all thanks to Corsair.
Nice. All 4 of them. And Neeb, yes, confirmed, was the 4th player to advance. Pretty cool. It's going to be on Frozen Temple. Game number 1, a best of 3. I remember.
Nailed it.
Don't worry about it. And in the top left, guess I'll do the intros.
Well, I mean, you kind of took command there.
That's the red Zerg. He is Liquid TLO.
And in the bottom right, it's going to be his opponent, the blue Protoss Super.
Yeah. Let's talk about for that. Oh yes, that is just a best of 3. I don't know why it's not been that long since a Corsair Cup. Well, we didn't do one last week, did we? And then the week before that, I didn't do one. Oh, so it has been a while since I did a Corsair Cup. Well anyway.
You, yeah.
Anyway, I just was remembering the Alima League for whatever reason, the best of 5. But no, this is just a best of 3. The finals is a best of 5 for sure, though. And of course, as always in the Corsair Cup, the first map is default, so Frozen Temple. Not a bad map at all for these races in particular, I suppose. Maybe... Nope, actually, Thermal's playing a ZvP, so he's going to get an advantage in Frozen Temple here for his typical 3-rack shenanigans. TLO versus Super is probably going to be a good match. I would give it to TLO, but Super has been playing somewhat, decently, of course, as he usually does.
Like, I feel this is the case for a lot of the times I cast TLO. I want to give TLO the match, and there's so many reasons saying that you should totally give TLO the favoritism in the match, but then something will go wrong and the other guy will just beat him every time. So I want TLO to win, thus I'm going to say I'm going to give Super the match.
Okay. Whatever works. I do know that TLO, I don't think versus Protoss is his favorite matchup. Both like him personally as well as in his stats. But I'm not 100% sure about that. So that's the only reason I'm a little like reserved in giving him the win. Okay, yeah, was he correct? So in his stats, it's definitely his worst. As opposed to the other 2 matchups, but I don't know, he seems to be working out pretty well. He's actually figured out Alive, who I think is a really, like, it's like, like you can figure out Alive, you can know what he does, like, he typically does anyways, but it's another thing to actually win against him in a best of 3. So I just feel like TLO's been playing pretty well lately. He seems to be fixing a lot of his problems that have been keeping him back from winning, the actual first place and whatnot, so we'll see how this first game looks. Frozen Temple, while it doesn't have any of the shenanigans like a 3-Rax Reaper in TDZ, it does still, it's a small map, It's not Dasson Station, but for either sides, the reinforcements issue is a big one. Like, that if they're going to attack you, that immediately after they could send over 6 more Adepts if they don't have a Warp Prism. Or if it's Zerg being the one to attack, then they can actually even create a Zerg creep highway in the middle of the map.
Actually, funny that bring that up. That has actually been one of TLO's to-go-to things. That Roach push, Ravager push with the creep highway. Yeah,
it's a very old-fashioned all-in. Frozen Temple, one of the most old-fashioned maps available, I guess, still. Kind of hard to remember that. I mean, this was back, I think, around with Laralac Crest, right? Because Laralac Crest is around for too long, and then Frozen Temple wasn't around for a long time. I think they had some crossover, but anyway, it's been here since, like, Solar was abusing the hell out of all-ins. It's been here since Zerg players would only ever rely on all-ins, actually, versus Protoss. And of course, that dynamic has very much so changed, but the dynamic of the Zerg being the aggressor typically actually hasn't. Like that, I mean, it's changed from Heart of the Storm, Legacy of the Void. That was not the case for sure. But in Legacy of the Void, it does have more of the Zerg player choosing to go for like the all-ins, or choosing to be aggressive, or making the Protoss players scared and making them fall back. But certainly the Protoss have been coming back, I guess, the return of the Protoss all-ins and whatnot, or whatever you want to call it. So as a lot of Protoss still go for like a third base, on a good enough time and all of that, A lot of Protosses are including this attack in particular. So we saw Super All-In. The very first game of the day was something similar to this. Resident Glaives was a Dark Shrine after, but with a lot more gateways. Oh no, he does have 6 gateways, never mind. So, okay, he's All-Inning again. I was gonna say, there is a macro version of this, but he is going for the All-In. And this is, really where the Protoss can get really aggressive, a little bit in the early game, before they have the roaches ready.
This may not be so terrible for TLO. Excuse me. He's got +1 weapons on the way, which I actually like a lot more than the prospect of roaches here, but he's also got Spore Crawlers already down, so the DT follow-up to this won't necessarily be too problematic. But it will be, are the Adepts going to snowball too quick, too early? I love the Spore Crawler even being brought to that front lines to potentially help deal with the Warp Prism, but the Adepts actually are fully surrounded. The Queens and the Lings have got the damage, and they start cleaning a lot of this up. And while there's still perhaps not quite enough from TLO to really manhandle Super's far and away from snowballing with this.
Yeah, if you remember the first game, Super versus B-Lord, he was able to get on the ramp, first of all, against a small amount of roaches. This time he was caught out in the open against a large amount of lings, and that already stopped Super from snowballing.
Oh, and that's...
These DTs, oh wow, they didn't expect a Spore Crawler to be there. I didn't either.
Well, he brought it in the middle of that first fight. He was trying to get it to shoot the Warp Prism, so the fact that it was there was combination coincidence, but also really well handled. Gonna route these other Spore Crawlers around to position around the Warp Prism. Won't quite get it, but amazing defense out of TLO so far, considering what was coming.
Yeah, a lot of Zerg players have trouble with that. Not to make Velor look like he just, you suck, like you can defend against this. No, a lot of Zerg players will, for instance, overcommit to the roach idea. TLO got a roach warren and even got a couple of roaches, but it was really his lings that got that first surround and stopped it from really snowballing. There's also where exactly do you stop droning and start making units? Yeah, Super realizes that. But now that he has dealt with it so well, we're going to talk about how Super recovers from this. So he still has the Warp Prism alive, and you can never underestimate leaving 6 Adepts alone in your mineral line for 2 seconds. They will kill the entirety of it. But that's not happening. TLO is keeping track of his drones. He's sending them off to safety, and he's cleaning up all the Adepts.
And this is where I really like that +1 I had mentioned before. You get the roaches, they can take a couple of hits, they do a little bit more damage, certainly, but if the Lings get a surround on any of these Adepts, the +1 helps them chew through them so quickly. Roaches actually have such a slow attack speed, they can't deal with Adepts. GG gets called. What a shutout! TLO with a 1-0 to start the series.
Been shut down. It's not an unexpected all-in at all in the recent weeks at this point, but to have TLO shut it down so perfectly doesn't usually happen.
There was that element of that Warp Prism / Dark Templar thing. Had the Spore Crawler not been there, would this have been different? Could that have done damage? Because the Spore Crawlers would have still been in the mineral lines. There's a lot of cool TLO nuance moments in that game, but overall that was just a really solid defense.
Yeah, it was. Super's map choice now. Don't ask him what an AMP is.
What is an AMP?
It's an amp, man. Duh.
Amp Man? Was that the hero who could shrink and go big?
No, he's that guy that sings that song.
Pepsi Man?
Pepsi Man.
Pepsi
I showed that to
Pepsi Man.
I showed that to a couple of people at Kings of the North.
Ow! Fuck! Ah! My elbow funny bone! Ah! No!
Doesn't it just feel weird? It doesn't even hurt that much.
I know! It's it's not pain, but it is at the same time.
You're whining so much.
I was mime sprinting and I slammed my elbow into the desk. Feels bad, man. But okay, my clumsiness aside, we're getting into game 2. It's King Sejong Station. And,
okay, TLO needs a minute.
Oh, fantastic, TLO, thank you.
Well, he has to go to the bathroom. He has to chill out. Wrecked a nerd or whatever.
Okay, here's me. We're gonna have a real talk moment. Guy to girl. Feelings that you can never feel, right? Like everyone always talks about like what's worse, like pregnancy or getting kicked in the balls and things like that. I think I've got it. So take the equivalent of like you hitting your funny bone elbow thing, right? Combine it with just the worst tummy ache you've ever had in your life, and pretend that feeling of the elbow getting hit never goes away. That's what getting kicked in the nuts is like.
Do you know what cramps are?
Yes, because when I eat cheese, let me tell you.
Do you know what they're like?
I'm not saying this is not meant to be. This is worse than. Okay, this is not a pissing contest of sorts. I'm just describing like this revelation as I'm like, this is kind of what it feels like without the tummy ache.
Interesting. I can imagine. I guess you get the funny feeling, but also the pain feeling.
Yeah, it feels weird, man. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, ball kicking aside, hoping not to get kicked in the balls again by his opponent. In the bottom right, he's down 1 game. It's Super.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid TLO.
Now, it could be on Super whether he wants to go for a significant all-in or not. I mean, on one hand, we just witnessed TLO shut it down. On the other, that might just be like a lucky game for TLO. And I hesitate to say lucky, but more so one of those games where you don't often handle it that perfectly. So maybe in the future, you know, another all for game 2 might actually hit him a lot harder.
I get a TSA Monk for the 19-month resub.
It's up with some dank memes coming from Nate's channel too. Always super glad when we see people who are sub to our channel, but also sub to our friends' channels. So thank you very much, TSA Monk, or Samonk.
Friendship. It's the best type of ship. Never sinks.
What about companionship?
That sinks occasionally.
What about an internship?
That always sinks. Especially if it's unpaid. Hey, there's Fair Dragon when you need him.
He left BaseTradeTV over drama, didn't you hear?
Was he an intern that was getting paid? He didn't like it?
Oh my god, that's actually what happened! By the way, fun fact, so like I'm sure some of you guys saw the overreaction of random people on Reddit when the whole Fear Dragon leaving BaseTradeTV thing happened. We hung out all TwitchCon, and we spent like half of our time hanging out making fun of that thread. Like, I want to make it very perfectly clear. Like, there is no bad blood beef between like us and Fear Dragon. And when we take shots on him and stream and stuff, it's always in like friendly jest and never ever in malice. Like,
I don't know, man. Political views, they'll break friendships apart.
Yeah, I can't wait to vote for Trump.
I think he's gonna vote for Trump, man.
I mean,
Can't be friends with that shit.
Trump's all about unpaid internships. Have you seen The Apprentice?
Okay, that was not where he was going, and I'm so glad you went that direction.
I'm not gonna lie, I never watched a single season of any of those shows, but I did watch The Celebrity Apprentice, the season that had Penn Jillette on it, because I'm such a big fan of Penn and Teller. And I hated watching every second of it, but I watched it because I'm such a big fan of that one person.
I have never seen... I think I saw like 10 seconds of it in a recap or something. I actually am unsure as to what the...
Oh, no. I just realized... This
goal is?
This is going to make you probably hate me. I now realize I've seen more of The Apprentice than I have Harry Potter movies.
That's just disappointing, okay? That's just... Everyone will judge you for this. You've also watched more of The Apprentice than you've watched Jurassic Park.
That's true. I have seen
Did you watch Jurassic World?
The new one?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, don't.
You know what I'm gonna do next time you piss me off? I'm gonna be, you know what's up? I'm gonna go watch Jurassic World, and I'm gonna like it.
Okay, that is like someone purposefully only watching the prequel of Star Wars.
But pod racing.
I like the prequels, but I also have watched the original trilogy. Okay.
I enjoyed the prequels for really silly reasons that are like. You know, for sure, my parents, you know, my dad would take me to the movies and we'd see the prequels and whatever. So I don't actually know whether if I actually liked the prequels or not. I haven't actually rewatched them for like 10 plus years, but I've got good memories of them. I
rewatch the entire Star Wars movie set, I guess. Now I have to add in the 7th one, like once every year, I would say. Same for Harry Potter, because Harry Potter marathons are like ABC's like bread and butter, okay? Like ABC's like, oh, what are we doing this weekend? I don't know. What holiday is it? I don't know. I think it might be Christopher Columbus Day. Harry Potter it up! It makes sense for like Halloween, okay? But like every other holiday.
ABC, wasn't it Amy's Baking Company or whatever? The crazy lady?
Was that also? I don't remember, but maybe.
Alright, well, lots of lings being made from TLO, and I don't necessarily believe this is because he's going for any sort of all-in, but he actually just needs to be super prepared for whatever Super might throw at him. Super prepared, Super, there you go. He scouts in the main, he's going to see the Dark Shrine, he sees the Warp Prism finishing up, and he's very glad he made this many lings. But once again, he has +1 accompanying them, so regardless of... You know, Super's not hitting as early as last time, maybe he's not hitting the same strength as last time, either way, TLO's prepared to deal with it.
Yes, I'm only 4 gateways, which is still not exactly like the expand build version of this, but it is an expand build version, just a little more on the aggressive side. 1 more gateway to get all 4 DTs immediately so that you can turn them into 2 Archons if you need to, and that's exactly what he's going to do, and then you do get the expansion. So it's already been canceled once. I'm actually a little afraid it'll be canceled again. These are +1 lings. They find the Adept in a full surround. Super should have had that up against the gas geyser and the pylon, and he should have had the Mothership Core already over here. That pylon could get knocked down, and if that goes down, the Nexus also does.
Well, Archons quickly rack up 6 kills. TLO, as good as +1 is, won't necessarily be able to stop it, so he can stop the Warp Prism. So Queen's coming, diving for it. One of the Archons pops off. Not too bad. Meanwhile, Wall on the other side completely depowered. Blink getting shut down. TLO making sure none of these pylons get to be made. No overcharges for you, sir.
This has been a disastrous game. I mean, it might even be worse than the last game. He tried to expand, he tried to have a backup plan to the aggression. Oh, I thought he lost the Warp Prism. That, I guess the second Queen didn't get a shot off on it, but still, it's so low, it's gonna die.
Yeah, there's no real safe way to bring that back. Shuts down this base once again. Super just kind of gotta be frustrated. It's lings of all things. Surround on the Immortal. Oh no, that's gonna go down. Big expensive loss here. Those +1 weapons are seriously just doing wonders. Still nothing plugging that wall correctly. TLO runs in once again. There's no overcharges available just yet. 9 seconds to go. And I don't think 9 seconds of time will save these probes, unfortunately. Well, they do get pulled. 7, 8, something will die.
Good guess. 8 go down.
Yeah.
His third base was started up again while it all went down, so at least it's on its way, but it's still only like 10% on its way. More DTs are warped in for, I'm guessing, more Archons? Because there's 4 of them? No, he's gonna try and... Oh, JK!
The Archons were actually dealt with rather easily from TLO once already.
Yeah, and he's gonna go into the natural, which he knows is a Spore Crawler, and his Warp Prism is very close to death. I don't know about this. I don't know. Well, he does just leave them there, and he will be able to pick up with the extended range of the Warp Prism. It's just so dangerous to do this. They're gonna get a handful of lings and a queen.
Ooh, picks up another Archon.
Well, TLO going for the Spire might be a complete surprise to Super, who, by the way, has not gotten very much scouting done because he was hardcore denied access to TLO's base, TLO's drone line. Yeah, he has no idea that it's on the way.
Yeah, TL on the other hand has seen everything. Overseer comes in with Contaminate on the Robo. That's kind of nice to see. 3 Immortals out now, and the Muta swap is going to be alarming. I mean, on one hand, Blink is out. That's cool. So Super's at least going to have the potential to contest this. But realistically, it's not Stalkers with Blink that deal with Mutas. It's Stalkers with +2. Stalkers with +3 weapons. That's what's going to deal with the Mutas.
Yeah, and even then it can be very difficult if you're just caught on the defensive initially. Like, if you're just stuck defending, eventually it's going to turn to that base trade, which typically goes in favor of the Zerg player with their Mutas. If you can be aggressive while the Mutas are coming out and you have the Warp Prism, which is now gone, then you can actually make something happen, again, with the upgrades. But Super is in all types of trouble here. Even though supplies aren't that different, the momentum is so in favor of TLO. Eventually the supplies will be very different.
Of course, the Mutas just kind of come in and bully down 6 probes right away. Stalker's going to try and chase these off, but here's that problem now where the Stalkers can't necessarily engage the Mutas if there's lots of lings under them. +2 weapon upgrades will tear through those Stalkers.
Yeah. TLO not exactly at that critical amount yet, though. Only on 11 Mutas, I think he's on 13. About to get up to closer to 20, but also missing a ton of ling fodder on the ground. But as he secures, you know,
Oh, mothership
65
core. Rip.
drones, he should really start to be just putting a lot of minerals and gas into these units.
Contemplating focusing on the forge, but knowing Blink was coming off the cooldown soon, knew he couldn't quite spend the time to kill it, so goes for more probe kills. Super beaten down to 42 workers now.
Yeah. I mean, TLO is a bit loose with his mutas, I guess, like, playing fast and loose with them, but if he is keeping Super on the other side of the map, on his side of the map that is, then I guess he always has that time to recover, but it kind of sucks that he's unable to get above 20 mutas, despite putting a lot of rounds of production into them. Well, 4 bases, TLO could even reach for a 5th, but he's still mining pretty healthily from all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the missing Ling fodder, and the concern with this isn't just that there's no Lings to take on the Stalkers, but as the Baneling speed finishes up, there's not that many Lings to turn into Banelings either.
See, now it's 18 mutas all together. They have +1. The Lings are going to flood into that 3rd base, it looks like.
Oh,
there
no.
is... The other part of the army's there. Nicely done by Super. He's trying to make the best of a bad scenario, but he can't even...
You know,
remember to start his +2.
I kind of wish Super would have kept a couple of Archons for this as well. I mean, not that he would have the mobility through them, but even just placing 2 Archons in the mineral line would greatly deter the mutas from coming in there, at least the way they have been. TLO kind of just free flying around the map, and honestly, unless he makes a massive mistake on his end, there's really no reason Super should be able to take any sort of good engagement against him. As we see here, he might be dedicating a little bit, but I think it's because he's trying to buy time for the rest of his army to get down here.
This could just be a swamp. I mean, if he had more Banelings, definitely would be, but Super has to be careful moving out. His army... Okay, supply blocks, first of all, but when his army does get closer to maxed out, he can always try and take that engagement, go out in the middle of the map, but he's going to force a base trade at that point, and the question always is, can he win that base trade? Which usually is a no for the Protoss.
Well, the Mutas wanted to get more of the probe kills, but even just trading out for the Stalkers isn't even that bad. Mutas going to regenerate so quickly that it doesn't really... As long as they don't die, they might as well be full health getting out of that fight alive. So picking up these Stalkers, costing Super greatly. And Super, keep in mind, can't keep replacing these. He doesn't have the income to pump out 15 rounds of Stalkers every 30 seconds.
Yeah. But he's lucky that his 3rd base is so well saturated still.
TLO's stacking like crazy, by the way, down here.
His 3rd base was taken very, very late, but eventually his main and Nash are going to mine out, then it really will only be his 3rd base.
Well, if TLO can, he'll help make sure that's not a problem by killing all the probes here.
That's true. Only 35 probes, going to go down to probably sub 25?
Oh, man.
Almost.
You know, Super, by the way,
looks
is a...
tempting. A lot of adepts, though.
Super's a really fantastic player. He's won large series, best of 7s, you name it. We've cast them for bigger events, too. And he's done it cross-server. So it's really remarkably great watching TLO play so well, but it's also a bit interesting to see Super not, I guess? Damn, that's a lot of Banelings coming in. 42.
This will probably just roll right through Super's army.
Super's gonna scout this and be like, oh shit.
Yeah, like, what can he really do about this? He has no Archons to protect him.
Are there
Archons
even
would
any
have been a
force
very
fields?
great addition. No, he doesn't have any sentries.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be a sandwich. It's a TLO sandwich, and it's the sexiest, most disgusting kind of sandwich if you're a Zerg player. All of the adepts in the back line, everything dies. And Super is gonna fall out of the tournament. TLO moves on to the finals. Whoop, whoop. He'll play against either Euthermal or Neeb. And well, I think TLO versus Neeb would be really cool to see. I actually really want to see TLO versus Euthermal.
TLO versus Euthermal. I'd rather see him versus Neve, actually.
Well, one of us will get our wishes. So we'll get this next best of 3 going here shortly. A small commercial break before we do, but once again, I must urge and request you guys check out the sponsor links down below, because this would not be possible without Corsair, guys, as they are the main sponsors and the ones who made this cup possible. We've been running this since January, since December. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.